Good morning, all of you. Welcome to Sri Jayendra Rank Zone. Today we are going to discuss Chemical Kinetics Lecture 4. In the previous lecture, we have done already how to find order of reaction, also rate of reaction, and integrated rate of equation. So integrated rate of first equation, zero order, first order, second order also. And we have seen already how to find half-life of a reaction also. So in this lecture, we are going to do next topic in this chapter. So far we have completed integrated rate equations. In the previous lecture, we have completed integrated rate equations for zero order, first order, and second order. So the integrated rate equation for first order is very important. And also we know how to find half-life of first order reaction, second order reaction, and zero order reaction. And we have done numericals based on that also. So in this class, we are going to do new topic in this chapter, that is effect of temperature on the rates of reaction. Effect of temperature on the rates of reaction. Let us see what happens to the temperature and the rates of reaction. Very, very important. So the rate of reaction and also the value of rate constant generally increases with the increase in temperature. So always the rate of reaction increases with the increase in temperature. So the ratio of the rate constant of the temperature T plus 10 to the temperature T is called temperature coefficient. Means T plus 10 means here 10 degrees C, 10 degrees rise in temperature, 10 degrees C rise in temperature, or 10 Kelvins rise in temperature. So that is called T plus 10, where T is called temperature in Kelvins. Capital T means absolute temperature. To that, a temperature is called temperature coefficient of the rate constant. This is called what? Temperature coefficient of rate constant. So the temperature coefficient of rate constant is given by the formula Kt plus 10 by Kt. Kt plus 10 by Kt. This is called temperature coefficient of rate constant. I hope it is clear. So it was observed that the rate of reaction is always proportional to the with the increase of temperature. The rate value also and also the value of rate constant generally increases. So the rate of reaction and also the value of rate constant generally increases with the increase in temperature, and the ratio of the rate constant of a reaction at temperature T plus 10 to that at temperature T is called temperature coefficient. And this temperature coefficient is equal to, after calculation of first order kinetics, we got it is Kt plus 10 by Kt is equal to 2. Means by this what you can understand, for every, here I'm writing, for every 10 degrees C rise of temperature, for every 10 degrees C, this sentence is very important, 10 degrees C rise of temperature or 10 Kelvins rise of temperature, the rate constant almost doubles. The rate constant, that is K value, is doubled, DUBLED, because the temperature coefficient value is 2 after observations. So this is very, very important. This is called effect of temperature on the rates of reaction. So the rate of reaction and also the value of rate constant generally increase with an increase in temperature. And it was found to be Kt plus 10 by Kt is equal to 2. So for most reactions, the rate of reaction is approximately doubled. This is very important, as I told you. For every 10 degrees C, the rate of reaction or rate constant is approximately doubled for every 10 degrees rise of temperature, that is Kelvin temperature or degrees C. And the temperature coefficient is all approximately 2, as I told you, Kt plus 10 by Kt. This also I'll make it capital, is equal to 2. This is called the temperature coefficient value for most of the reactions. Hence, we need to take into consideration for most reactions, the rate of reaction is approximately doubled for every 10 degrees C rising temperature. I hope it is clear. Now, what is threshold energy and activation energy? So before, for every reaction, first of all, for a reaction to take place, the molecules of the reactant molecules should collide with each other. When they start collide with each other, they gain some energy. So they gain the energy that is nothing but threshold energy. And after attaining threshold energy only, the reactant molecules, whatever the collisions done by the reactant molecules are changing into product molecules. Means by this what you can say, all the collisions does not lead to the formation of products. All the collisions of reactant molecules does not lead to the formation of products. So those collisions which are changing into the formation is nothing but they are called as effective collisions. Now we are going to discuss that only, and when you will get effective collisions also we'll discuss. So all collisions between reactant molecules do not lead to the formation of products. So first, suppose for example, if you take a reaction A plus B gives rise to P, where P is called product. So reactant A plus reactant B combines together to form product P. So first, the molecules of the reactant A and reactant B should collide with each other. And all the collisions of reactant A and reactant B do not lead to the formation of products. Only those colliding molecules which have energy above a certain minimum amount, which have energy above certain minimum amount, are capable of reacting. So the minimum energy that the reacting molecules must possess at the time of collision in order to react is called threshold energy. So when they start colliding with each other, they develop certain energy, and that energy is called as threshold energy. Means after after attaining the value of threshold energy only, whatever the collisions made by A and B are called A and B will leads to the formation of products. Otherwise, their collisions are not fruitful. Not fruitful means they are of no use. So all collisions between reactant molecules do not lead to the formation of products. Only those colliding molecules which have energy above a certain minimum amount are capable of reacting. So the minimum energy that the reacting molecules must possess at the time of collision in order to react is called threshold energy. So once a the reactant A and reactant B molecules attains threshold energy, then whatever the collisions made by A and B will change into product P. I hope it is clear. Very, very important. This is called threshold energy and collision the activation energy. So, so what is threshold energy? The minimum energy that the reacting molecules must possess at the time of collision in order to react is called threshold energy. Next, the minimum excess energy above the normal energy that the reacting molecules must possess in order to react is called activation energy. So they should have threshold energy as well as activation energy. What is activation energy? The minimum excess energy above the normal energy of the reactant molecules that the reacting molecules must possess in order to react is called activation energy. And this formula is very important. What is activation energy? E of A is equal to energy of activation, or activation energy is equal to threshold energy Te minus normal energy of reactant molecules. So this is threshold energy minus normal energy of reactant molecules. So this is called energy of activation as well as threshold energy. Both are different. So next, Arrhenius theory of reaction rates. What is Arrhenius theory of reaction rates? The temperature dependence of the rate of reaction is given by Arrhenius equation. K is equal to, that is K is called rate constant, is equal to A Arrhenius factor electron minus E power A by E power E minus A by RT, where A is called energy of activation, where A is constant for a given reaction, and is called Arrhenius factor, R2 exponential factor, or frequency factor. EA is called energy of the activation for the given reaction. The exponential term e power minus EA by R2 represents the fraction of molecules which possess threshold energy. Underline this word. This is called what? E power is called nothing but E power minus EA by RT is called the fraction of molecules which possess threshold energy. So the fraction of molecules which possess threshold energy is nothing but the exponential term. According to the equation, as T increases, temperature increases, the rate constant K also increases, and the rate of reaction also increases. Also lower the value of EA, very, very important. Lower the value of EA, higher is the rate of reaction. So energy of activation, for the reaction to go to energy of activation, if the energy of activation is less, automatically the rate of reaction is high. High means it will take the time to complete the reactions faster. I hope it is clear. So effect of temperature on the energy of reactants. So the distribution, Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution curve. The distribution curve shows that at a given temperature, a definite fraction of total number of molecules possess threshold energy. The rate of reaction depends on the concentration of such molecules. When the temperature is increased, the fraction of the total number of molecules which possess threshold energy also increases, and the rate also increases, due to which what happens, energy of activation decreases. So the fraction of molecules having kinetic energy, so after reaching threshold energy, so this is the graph, and these are the number of molecules which are undergoing threshold energy. And next, the distribution of kinetic energy may be described by plotting the fraction of molecules Na by Nt, where Ne is called number of molecules at number of molecules having energy of activation by Nt, number of molecules at temperature T, with a given kinetic energy versus kinetic energy. Here Ne is called number of molecules with energy E, and Nt is the total number of molecules. Total number of molecules is Nt. The peak of the curve corresponds to the most probable kinetic energy, that is the kinetic energy of the maximum fraction of molecules. So these are decreasing numbers of molecules with energy higher or lower than this value. So let us see, this is the fraction of molecules which are having kinetic energy. So energy of activation, this is called energy of activation. This area shows the fraction of molecules reacting at time t seconds. So at t is t plus 10, that is temperature coefficient, kinetic energy. So these two graphs are important, but not that much. So when the temperature is raised, the maximum of the curve moves to the higher energy level value, and the curve broadens out, that is spreads to the right, such that there is a greater proportion of a molecule with higher energies. So when you increase the temperature, more number of molecules will possess threshold energy. So um, the area number, the curve must be constant, since total probability must be 1 at all times. So we can mark the position EA on Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution curve. So that is called, EA is called energy of activation. Energy of activation. So increasing the temperature of the substance increases the fraction of molecules which collide with the energies greater than EA. It is clear from the diagram that in the curve at T plus 10, the area showing that black spot, showing the fraction of molecules having energy equal to or greater than activation energy, gets doubled, leading to doubling the rate of reaction. So that is called temperature coefficient, and this is observed that the fraction of molecules having energy equal to or greater than activation energy gets doubled, leading to the doubling the rate of reaction. Means as the rate of reaction double, energy of activation doubles, rate of reaction also doubles. So due to which what happens, at for every 10 degrees rise of temperature, you will know that rate of reaction always doubled. Now energy profile diagram. So during a reaction, the reactant molecules come together to form an activated complex or transition state which has a transitory existence. It is called intermediate state. The activated complex breaks down to give the products. For example, the formation of hydrogen iodide. Hydrogen contains hydrogen molecule, it contains two atoms. Iodine molecule contains two atoms. These two will combine together and they form an intermediate compound HI, which results in the formation of, this is called activated complex, and then it breaks down into two molecules of hydrogen iodide, hydrogen single bond iodine, hydrogen single bond iodine. Then they form two hydrogen iodide. In this way, the reaction takes place. So here H2 plus I2, A, initially it is ATA, and then they reach to activated complex C, and then they form to B, and B is nothing but formation of product. And this diagram is very, very important. They'll ask in the examination graphs. So always this portion is called energy of the, this is called initial reactant, and here this is called activated C. And the distance between A and C, the distance between A and C is nothing but what? Activation energy. AC is nothing but activation energy, and more the activation energy, less is the rate of reaction. And this, for A, if you draw a line, imaginary line up to here, so whatever the line after forming products, this is called the products, and this is called delta H of the reaction. This part is called what? Delta H of the reaction. Delta H of the reaction, two hydrogen bond. So reaction coordinate. So this is the reaction coordinate, what is potential energy. So AC is equal to energy of activation. I hope it is clear. This diagram, these parts are important. So always in a graph, this is called energy of activation, this part, and total energy is equal to energy of activation plus energy of, and this part is called energy of reactant molecules. Energy of reactant molecules. The energy of the activated complex is always higher than that of the reactant as well as that of the products. Very, very important. The energy of the activated complex is always higher than that of the reactant as well as that of the products. The energy change during a reaction may be represented by the potential energy diagram. This potential energy diagram is very, very important. Reaction coordinate versus potential energy diagram. The energy corresponding to the activated complex. The energy corresponding to the activated complex is the threshold energy of the reaction. Thus, for a reaction to occur, the reactant molecules must acquire minimum energy, that is called energy of activation, and form the activated complex, threshold energy. So, next. So this is called energy of products minus energy of reactants. It is called delta H of the reaction. What is delta H? Energy of the products and energy of the reactant. Here itself it is forming products. And E of A1 is called, this is called energy of backward reaction, and E of A is called energy of forward reaction. So EA and EA1. EA1 is called what? I'm writing here. So EA is called energy of activation for forward reaction. Energy of activation in forward reaction, and EA1 is called energy of activation for backward reaction, BR. So this is called backward reaction, this is called forward reaction. And EP minus ER is called energy of the reactants, is called EP minus ER. EP minus ER is called energy of reactants, this part. So ER is called energy of the reactants, and EP is called energy of products, and ET is called threshold energy. ET, where is ET here? This is called, this complete energy barrier is called threshold energy. So this graph is very, very important, and I hope it's clear. So this is the energy profile diagram. So E of A is equal to energy of activation of energy for forward reaction, as I told you already, is called energy of activation. And here for exothermic reactions and for endothermic reaction. And in this case, if you take into consideration, delta H becomes positive. So this is called endothermic reaction. If you take previous reaction, if you take previous diagram, is very, very important. This diagram, if you take into this consideration, energy of activation. So here EP minus ER, delta H is equal to what? What is delta H? EP minus ER, energy of products minus energy of reactants. So EP minus ER is called delta H, and if EP minus ER is equal to positive, the reaction is exothermic, endothermic. If EP minus ER is negative, if EP minus ER is equal to negative, it is exothermic reaction. So this is very, very important. So this is here EP minus ER. If you are getting negative value, so EP is lesser than ER means it is nothing but negative delta H. If delta H is negative, it is exothermic reaction, and if delta H is positive, it is endothermic reaction. So in this case, it is exothermic, and this is endothermic reaction. This is endothermic reaction because EP minus ER is equal to positive. So delta H is equal to heat of reaction EA minus EA1A. So if you take into consideration EA and E1A. So if you take this consideration, that is energy of activation of forward reaction minus energy of activation of backward reaction. So if the energy of activation of forward reaction, very, very important here, you can take this also into consideration. If the energy of activation of forward reaction is greater than energy of activation of backward reaction, then delta H becomes positive because EA minus EA1A. If energy of activation is less than energy of activation of backward reaction, then delta H is negative, then exothermic reaction. So by this you can say endothermic as well as exothermic. So here this value is greater than this value. So automatically EA becomes this, from here to here it is EA only. So this becomes, is this is bigger than this. So automatically we can say this reaction is E of A is greater. So it is endothermic, and the previous one is exothermic. So this reaction is for endothermic reactions. Endothermic because delta H is positive, and the previous one is called exothermic because delta H is negative. So I hope it is clear, very, very important. So they'll ask these diagrams, energy diagrams, and what is this? This they'll give, instead of giving E1 of A, this they'll give as value, and E of A also they'll give value, and this is potential energy barrier, and this is called energy of activation, and delta H, everything is very, very important, all the important points. Now logarithmic form of Arrhenius equation. K is equal to A into e power minus A by RT. So ln K, natural logarithm ln A minus E A by RT, by applying log from natural logarithm to log. If you change, you have to use this formula. So this formula is important. What is this formula? Log K is equal to log A minus E of A by 2.303 RT, where R is called gas constant, T is called temperature in kelvins, A is called Arrhenius factor, and K is called rate constant. So equation 2 and 3, this and this are the form of Y is equal to mx plus C, representing a straight line. So graph log K was 1 by T should be a straight line with intercept log A, and slope is equal to minus EA by 2.303 R. So these values, slope is important, intercept is important, and the formula is also important. So all the three are very important. Please make a note in your classwork, because based on this you'll get numericals also. So thus EA, energy of activation, A can be determined graphically by using this Arrhenius equation. So this is K and 1 by T. If you plot a graph between log K versus 1 by T, it is straight line. The intercept is log A, slope is equal to minus EA by 2.303 R for this graph. If K1 and K2 are the rate constants of reaction at temperatures T1 and T2, then log K1 is equal to this, and log K2 is equal to log A minus EA by 2.303 R T2. So log K2 minus log K1 is equal to EA by 2.303 RT1 minus EA by. So by this you will get the new formula, that is log of K2 by K1, that is equilibrium constant at temperature T2, equilibrium constant, that is rate constant at temperature T2, rate constant at temperature T1 is equal to energy of activation by 2.303 R T2 minus T1 by T1 T2. If K1 and K2 are determined experimentally and T1 and T2, then energy of activation also can be calculated, and this energy of activation is also can be called as delta H also, because delta H is equal to energy of activation with the negative sign. So I hope it is clear. So you can find out. So this formula is very important. So this formula is very, very important. I hope it is clear. Next. Now let us see numericals based on this concept. The energy of activation for the forward reaction and backward reactions are 240 kilojoules per mole and 320 kilojoules per mole respectively. Calculate the enthalpy of change of reaction. Very, very important. So they are asking enthalpy of change of reaction is delta H. Simple question. Like these questions they'll ask for NEET. So delta H is equal to, that is enthalpy of change of reaction, E of A, that is energy of activation of forward reaction, minus E of A1, that is energy of activation of backward reaction. So where E of A is called energy of activation for forward reaction, and E of A1 is called energy of activation for backward reaction. So forward reaction they are given, it is 240 minus 320, 240 minus 320, which is coming around minus 80 kilojoules per mole. So this is a simple question. Just we have to substitute the numbers only. So this is clear. Very, very important. Let us see the answer now. So it is minus 80 kilojoules per mole. So that is nothing but energy to find delta enthalpy change of the reaction is equal to energy of activation of forward reaction minus energy of activation of backward reaction. I hope it is clear. So next question. For a reaction, the activation energy is zero. They have given the activation energy is zero. That is E of A is equal to zero. What is given here? Energy of activation is equal to zero. What is the value of rate constant K at 300 kelvins if A is equal to 1.6 10 to the power of 6 second inverse at 280 kelvins, and R value is also given. So from the equation we also know that log K is equal to the relation between the Arrhenius constant as well as the rate constant is equal to log K is equal to log A minus EA by 2.303 RT. Since E of A, that is energy of activation by 2.303 RT is equal to 0, because since E of A is equal to 0, we can say log K is equal to, for this question, log A is nothing but implies K is equal to A, that is equal to 1.6 into 10 to the power of 6 second inverse. So this is a very simple problem, just application of concept. So let us see the answer now. Yes, since E of A is equal to 0, K is equal to A, that is the answer. So this formula you have to use for finding the answer. Since here energy of activation is given 0, so 0 by anything is also 0. So log K is equal to log A. So K is equal to 8. I hope it is clear now. Next question. The rate constant of a reaction. See here, this by using this formula only you can understand easily. The rate constant is K1 for a reaction at 50 degrees C, that is T1 is 1.5 10 to the power of 7, and K2, that is rate constant K2 is 4.5 10 to the power of 7 second inverse at 100 degrees C, that is T2. Calculate the value of energy of activation for the reaction. So E of A is equal to how much they are asking, and we know the equation log of K2 by K1 is equal to E of A by 2.303 RT, 2.303 R into T2 minus T1 by T1 T2. So I have to convert the temperature in kelvins. 50 degrees C means 323 kelvins, and this is 100 degrees C means 373 kelvins. Because always we have to use capital T only. Capital T is important. So T2 minus T1 by substituting this formula. So K2 by K1. So use this formula and find out energy of activation. It's a lengthy problem. Take R value is equal to this much. And if you do this everything, you'll get the answer in joules. You can convert them into kilojoules. I hope it is clear. So let us take into some consideration log of K2 by K1. So log of K2 is how much? 4.5 10 to the power of 7 by 1.5 10 to the power of 7 is equal to E of A, that we are going to find by 2.303 R, that is 2.303 into 8.314 into T2 minus T1, that is 373 minus 323 divided by 323 into 373. So if you calculate all this, you get the energy of activation, and you can check the answer. Easily you'll get the answer. I hope it is clear. Very, very important numerical. So answer will be 222.012 kilojoules. So answer the value you will get in joules. You have to convert them into kilojoules. Next. The slope of a line in the graph of log K versus 1 by T5 reaction is minus 5841 kelvins. So calculate the energy of activation. From the Arrhenius equation, we know that slope is equal to minus E of A by 2.303 R. It means slope is given already. The slope of the line in the graph log K was 1 by T5 reaction is minus 15841 kelvins. So minus 5841 kelvins is equal to minus E of A by 2.303 R. So minus minus gets cancelled. So it implies EA is equal to simply 2.303 into 8.314 into R value, that is 58 slope value 5841. This you will get approximately this value you will get approximately 1.118 in 10 to the power 5 kilojoules per mole. So if you multiply this, automatically you'll get the answer. So I hope it is clear. So slope value is very important. The slope for log k was 1 by t is equal to is given minus 2 a by minus a by 2.303 r. This is the formula. So use this formula, you'll get the answer. So please note it down. I hope it is clear. Next. So the answer will be energy of activation is equal to 1.118 in 10 to the power 5 joules per mole. Next question. The time required for 10% completion. The time required for 10% completion of first order reaction at 298 kelvins is equal to that required for its 25% completion at 308 kelvins. So let us take straight away. This is K1 and this is K2, simply rate constant, and this is T1 and this is T2. So if the value of highness factor is also given 4 into the power of 10 second inverse, here the value of A is given, highness factor A value is given, and they are asking calculate the energy of activation and also rate constant at 318 kelvins. This is very, very typical problem. So first case, we can find out K1 is equal to, applying first order kinetics rate equation, K1 is equal to 2.303 by T1 time taken into log of 10% is completed means 100 by 100 minus 10 is A by A minus X. Similarly, K2 is equal to 2.303 by T2, that is time, into log of 100 by 100 minus 75, sorry, 25. So, and T1 is equal to T2 because same time. So you can calculate K1 and K2 and you can use the formula log of K2 by K1 is equal to E of A by 2.303 R into T2 minus T1 by T2, T1, T2. So use this formula, you'll get the value of energy of activation first. After getting energy of activation, you can use the formula log K is equal to, how to find rate constant, second problem, second sum. So log K is equal to, it's very lengthy calculation. I'm giving you the basic idea. So usually you can find out this by using this. You can find out log of K2 by K1 is equal to E of A by 2.303 R T2 minus T1 by T1 T2 because you know T2 value and T1 value. And if from the first case itself, we can find energy of activation. So after getting energy of activation, log K is equal to log A, that is highness factor minus energy of activation by 2.303 RT. In this case, T is equal to 318 kelvins because they are asking rate constant at 318 kelvins. So again, I'll explain. They are given time required for 10% completion of first order reaction at 298 kelvins is equal to that. Is equal, time required is equal to that required for its 25% completion at 308 kelvins. So first case and second case time is same. So T1 is equal to T2. By applying these two, we can find K1 by K2. That is also nothing but log of K2 by K1 you can take. So first you find K1 by K2. That then you can reverse it. That is log of K2 by K1 is equal to E of A by 2.303 R into T2 minus T1 by T1 T2. By substituting this formula, you know from these two equations you can find out K2 and log of K2 by K1, and that is equal to this. And from this equation, you can find energy of activation. Substituting this energy of activation second equation, that is how to find rate constant at 318 kelvins. So log K is equal to log A. A value is given 4 into 10 to the power of 10 second inverse. So log A minus EA by 2.303 RT, where T is equal to here 318 kelvins, not the first one or T2. We have to take final temperature, that is 318 kelvins. So I hope it is clear. And after calculating, you'll get the answer of energy activation as well as rate constant. So here they have given directly rate constant value. So that we are going to discuss. We can see here. So the rate constant value after calculating, you'll get 1.042 10 to the power of minus 2 second inverse. So this numerical. In this way you have to find. First you have to take K2, K1, K1, K2. So log of K2 by K1 is equal to E of A by energy of activation by 2.303 R into T2 minus T1 by T1 T2. By substituting this formula, you will get the value of energy of activation. How we got K1? K1 is equal to 2.303 by T1. That is, to get K1, we have to take integrated rate equation for first order kinetics, and to get K2 also integrated rate equation for second order kinetics, which you have done in the previous class. So I hope it is clear. So next question. So next we have new topic that we are going to discuss now. That new topic we are going to discuss. So what is the new topic we have? That also we'll discuss now. And in this we have now last topic in this chapter. So our Ines factor is also done. We have to do now last topic. So for what we have done in this chapter also we'll do in the next session. Next session we'll do completely objective of different objective orientation from all the topics covered in this chapter. So that is also most important. So effect of catalyst on the rate of reaction. Next we have effect of catalyst. In the previous session we have seen effect of temperature on the rate of reaction. As we see, the temperature increases with the rate of reaction. Sorry, as the temperature increases, the rate of reaction increases, and you can see the as the temperature doubles. Sorry, if for every 10 degrees raise of temperature, the rate of reaction almost doubles. Now we'll see effect of catalyst. A catalyst is a substance which increases the rate of reaction without undergoing any permanent chemical change. So, for example, 2 moles of potassium chloride in the presence of manganese dioxide as catalyst on heating forms potassium chloride plus oxygen. Potassium chlorate changes to potassium chloride and oxygen. And here the catalyst is MnO2. And nitrogen, you know, this is called Haber's process. Nitrogen and reaction with hydrogen in the presence of iron as catalyst forms ammonia. So a catalyst increases the rate by providing an alternate path or mechanism of lower activation energy. Very, very important. So if you use the catalyst, it decreases the activation energy. Means a catalyst will lower the activation energy, hence the rate of reaction increases. As the activation energy decreases, so automatically rate of reaction increases. And also rate constant. So this concept is very, very important. So this is the effect of catalyst. So a catalyst will decrease the rate of, increase the rate of reaction by decreasing the activation energy. By decreasing the activation energy is most important. So uncatalyzed reaction, let us take into consideration A plus B gives rise to AB. Where E of where for that reaction EA energy of activation is equal to EA1. Catalyzed reaction A plus C gives us to AC EA2, and C is equal to catalyst. So AC plus B gives us to, so this catalyst will combine with the reactant molecules and make a platform, and finally it changes to AB. So the activation energy of each step EA1 and EA2 and EA3 in the catalyzed reaction is less than that of the uncatalyzed reaction. Hence the catalyzed reaction is faster. Let us see the diagram. So if you see, without catalyst, the energy of activation is here. You can see here, the reactants are changing to products with the use of catalyst. With the use of catalyst, what happens? The energy of activation decreases. So energy of activation with the catalyst is this much, and energy of a catalyst with the energy of activation without the catalyst is this much. I hope, in which case it is bigger. First case it is bigger without catalyst, and second case it is smaller with the catalyst. So this is called energy of activation. So a catalyst will always decrease the energy of activation. A catalyst will always lower the energy of activation. That is most important. Next. Now the final topic in this chapter is collision theory of reaction rates. So collision theory, they'll ask from this theoretical question or statement based question or graphical representation question. So graphical representation that we have seen in this lecture only in the previous slides, how to find activation energy, delta H, E of A, E of AB, everything. So that graphs are important, and this collision theory is very, very important. So according to this theory, a chemical reaction takes place due to collisions between the reacting molecules. First point. This is already clear from Arrhenius theory also, we know that a chemical reaction always takes place due to collisions between the reacting molecules. All collisions between reactant molecules will not bring about a chemical reaction because after attaining the threshold energy only, the reactant molecules are able to find products. So the number of collisions per second per unit volume of the reaction mixture is known as collision frequency. So this is called collision frequency. It is determined by the letter Z. So the number of collisions per second per unit volume of the reaction mixture is known as collision frequency. So all these 3 points are important. So all the factors. Only collisions between molecules which possess threshold energy will lead to products. This is very important, underline. So when they reach a threshold energy only, they are whatever the collisions, such collisions are called as effective collisions, or we also called it as fruitful collisions. Fruitful collisions are effective collisions. So for example, let for a bimolecular elementary reaction, A plus B gives rise to product. Rate is equal to Z into AB e to the power of minus E by RT, where Z is called the collision frequency and Z of AB is called collision frequency of reactants A and B. And this is called fraction of molecules with energy equal to or greater than activation energy. So this equation is similar to Arrhenius equation where constant A may be related to collision frequency. I hope it is clear. Next. There is a good agreement between the values of K obtained from the above equation and the experimental value for many reactions, but often, especially for reactions involving complex molecules, deviations are observed. It was realized that even collisions between reactant molecules possessing activation energy may not be effective in forming products unless the molecules have proper orientation. So, if the molecules do not collide in proper orientation, then also there is no product. So, if the orientation is not proper, no product is formed. Means the direction is perfect. The direction should be perfect. Even though they attain threshold energy also or activation energy also, it may be not be effective in forming products unless the molecules have proper orientation. Let us explain this condition now. So if the molecules colliding, if the reactant molecules are not colliding in proper orientation, then also even though they attain the energy of activation or threshold energy, the reaction does not take place. That is, they will not give products. So to give products, two conditions should be there. First, the molecule should attain threshold energy or activation energy. And second point, the molecules should collide with each other in proper orientation. These are the two conditions for the reaction to take place to form product. So the collision in which molecules collide with sufficient kinetic energy called threshold energy and proper orientation so as to facilitate breaking of bonds between the reacting species and formation of new bonds to form products are called as effective collisions. So these are the two conditions. What are the two conditions? First condition is the molecules which should provide sufficient kinetic energy, that is called threshold energy, and second one is proper orientation. So proper orientation, if they do not have any one of these, the reactant molecules will not give products at all. So both should be present compulsory. So let us take into consideration methyl bromide on reaction with alcohol. It forms CH3OH plus, sorry, this is KOH, potassium hydroxide. Then any OH minus, and this becomes Br minus. Suppose if the incoming nucleophile and the outgoing nucleophile are in the same direction, incoming nucleophile and outgoing nucleophile are in the same direction, then no product. That is why improper orientation. Here OH minus is coming this way, Br minus should come this way, and both will not, they will not change into what should be done, OH minus should replace Br minus. So if they are coming in the same path, definitely they will not have products. As they are coming in the same path, they will not form products. Whereas proper orientation means the outgoing nucleophile and the incoming nucleophile in opposite direction. See here, OH minus is coming from the back side of the molecule and Br minus is going from the front side. So leaving nucleophile and incoming nucleophile, outgoing nucleophile. If they are not in the same direction, automatically they'll form the product. So this is called proper orientation. So if the molecules do not collide with each other in proper orientation, then also the product will not form. Even though they attain activation energy, then also the product will not form. So this is the second point, that is proper orientation. In proper orientation, you can see here, OH minus is the incoming nucleophile. Br minus is the outgoing nucleophile. I write here incoming nucleophile. Nucleophile means negatively charged species, as I already know. So this is called incoming nucleophile. Incoming nucleophile. and this is called outgoing nucleophile. If they are in both are different directions, then only we can say outgoing nucleophile should go in one way and incoming nucleophile should come in one way. So this will form an intermediate complex. So if they are in the same, if they are same, coming in the same way, then no product. And here the product exists. So this is called proper orientation. So for a reaction to occur, first the molecule should possess the threshold energy, the reactant molecule should possess threshold energy. And second point is what? They should undergo proper orientation. The collision should be in proper orientation. So these are the two conditions for the reaction to take place. And this is called collision theory of reaction rates. I hope it is clear. Next. So the proper orientation of reactant molecules lead to bond formation, whereas improper orientation makes them simply bounce back and no products are formed. Here, what is important? No products are formed. To account for effective collisions, another factor P, called the probability or select factor, is introduced. It takes into account to the fact that in a collision, molecules must be properly oriented. That is, rate is equal to P into Z of AB into e power minus A by RT. So P has some new factor that is called probability factor. So where P is called orientation factor or probability factor. Orientation factor or probability factor or stage factor or probability factor, which refers to the orientation of molecule which collide, is important and contributes to effective collisions, thus modifying Arrhenius equation to K is equal to rate constant K is equal to P, that is orientation factor, into Z of AB collision frequency into E to the power of minus A by RT. This formula is also important, but you will not get questions based on this formula as far as numericals are concerned. So the next we have radioactive decay as first order reactions. Next we have collision theory is over. So next we have the last topic in this chapter, radioactive disintegration. You already know the radioactive elements. The atomic numbers with atom greater than 80 are said to be radioactive. Atomic numbers Z greater than 80 are said to be radioactive. So when they are exposed to light, they get disintegration, and that disintegration follows first order kinetics. So the radioactive disintegration follows first order kinetics, means they also follow first order reaction. So the rate of decay and the radioactive element is directly proportional to the rate of decay, and the radioactive element is directly proportional to the number of radioactive nuclei at a given instant of time. So rate of decay is proportional to NT, and rate of decay is proportional to for removing proportionality of this constant, that is lambda decay constant. There in the normal reactions we'll use rate constant, and here we'll use lambda. Here K is called rate constant and lambda is called decay constant. So rate constant and decay constant. I hope it is clear. So where lambda is equal to decay constant, and the expression is same like first order kinetics, that is lambda is equal to K is equal to 2.303 by T. So here lambda is equal to 2.303 by T log of N naught by NT, where N naught is called initial number of nuclei and NT is equal to number of nuclei at a given constant of time T seconds. So carbon dating. All living things will form a constant ratio of C14, C12. C14 is a radioisotope of death. C14 content in the living organism will start. That's why this carbon 14 is used for aging of rocks and even fossil fuels. So by determining the carbon 14 activity in the dead sample and living sample, one can determine the age of fossil fuel samples. So for example, lambda is equal to 2.303 by T log of N naught by NT, or T is equal to 2.303 by lambda log of N naught by NT, or lambda is equal to 0.693 by T by 2, where T by 2 is called T half. T half is just represented as T by 2, that is half-life of a radioactive substance, T by 2, half-life of a radioactive substance. Half-life of a radioactive substance is called T by 2. And T by 2 of carbon 14 is 5,660 years. It can be changed depending on the numerical. Generally, it is like this. Now, example. The half-life of radioactive isotope C14 is 5730 years. So this is called the half-life of a radioactive substance, 5730 years. An archaeologically sample containing wood has only 80% of the carbon-14 formed in living phase. Estimate the age of sample. They are asking us to find age of sample, time required. So you already know that. So for getting time, we should know the decay constant. So we know that from the, as they are following first order kinetics, we can find lambda is equal to first half of 0.693 by t half, that is t by 2. So the implies that is equal to 0.693 by t half is given how much? 5730 years. Now they are asking after using this, you calculate this formula, and after using this, they are asking time taken, estimate the age of sample time. That is age is equal to 2.303 by lambda into log of n naught by nt, that is 100 by 80% of the sample is formed. So 100 by 80, that is 100 by 80 you have to take into consideration. So I hope it is, take it as 100% sample and 100 by 80. So after solving this, you'll get T. So lambda you got first step. In the first step, you got decay constant. Second step, you'll get age of the sample. And after calculating this, you'll get the value also. I hope it is clear. Please copy down this numerical. Usually this type of numericals you will get very rarely, but still it is important. That's why I have given one model for this. So I hope it is clear. And the answer is 1845 years. So by substituting that formula, easily you get the answer. Next, let us see. The energy of activation for the decomposition of hydrogen iodide at 581 kelvins is 209.5 kilojoules per mole. Calculate the fraction of what molecules possessing activation energy. So the fraction of molecules possessing activation energy is nothing but, so fraction of molecules is equal to so 1 mole is nothing but Avogadro number. So E of energy of activation by Avogadro number. If you do that calculation, so you'll get the answer, that is 209.5 kilojoules per mole divided by Avogadro number is 6.023 in 10 to the power of 23, and 581 kelvins is also given. So into 581 kelvins. So you'll get the answer, because fraction of molecules is nothing but E power minus EA by RT. For 1 mole means you have to consider Avogadro number. So in this way you have to solve the question. I hope it is clear. So the energy of activation for the decomposition of hydrogen iodide at 510 kelvins is given. So fraction of molecules, so you get 1.47 10 to the power of minus 19 molecules. These are the number of molecules possessing this much of energy. Because for 1 mole we have Avogadro number of energy, temperature kept constant. So for 1 mole, 1.47 10 to the power of minus 19. So you'll get the answer. I hope it is clear. Next. So in this lecture we have done about collision theory and Arrhenius theory of equation, very, very important. And also finally, we have done decay constant. So all the three topics are important. And from this, definitely you'll get questions based on this. So now in the next lecture, final lecture, this is explanation part of total chemical kinetics is over in 4 lectures. Now in the final lecture, we'll do all the important models based on chemical kinetics. And it is very, very important in that if you will do all the models in final lecture, whatever we have done, more number of numericals in the examination, so in your classwork, so automatically you will be ready for objective questions. Easily you can answer all the objective questions. Now I'm stop sharing, so I'm ending this meeting. So I hope it is clear. So in this class, what we have done, total 4 lectures we have completed, and these 4 lectures are very, very important. And in 5th lecture, final lecture, we are going to do summary of the topic as well as the important models of all the topics in this chapter. So theoretical questions, both numerical as well as theoretical questions, and that will be useful for you. So I'm ending this class. Thank you.